Okay, and I think we are live. What is going on, guys? Welcome to the Nova MMA show. I'm your host, Nick, joined here with my co-host, Jova, and
Yeah,
we got quite a bit to unpack this week. So, Jova, why don't you start?
sure. So just a couple weeks ago, or sorry, last week. One second. Last week, UFC Fight Night, Rosenstruck versus Gain happened. Not the most exciting event, I gotta say, but still some good performances nevertheless. A lot of decisions all throughout the main card. Cyril Gain won. He's an up and comer, so we hope to see more of him. Round five decision. He threw 98 strikes compared to 38 of Rose's troops. So I believe that's what made the difference between the two in the performance, and that's what got him the win. What do you think, Nick?
Yeah, we're talking about Rosenstruck versus Gain, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I think the fight was pretty boring. It was putting me to sleep towards the end of the fight. There wasn't much action. I felt Rosenstruck was very, very hesitant with his striking and pushing forward. We did not see much action from him, and especially considering his last fight was with JDS. We saw both of their last fights with JDS actually, and they both won by TKO. So it was kind of interesting to see Jairzinho kind of fight the way that he did. I think Cyril Gain did what he had to do to get the W. I mean, to win 50-45 on all three judges' scorecards isn't, like, that says a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
The other cards on that fight, Pedro Munoz versus Jimmy Rivera was good. I like that
Yep.
fight. Pretty action-packed.
Another one I wanted to touch on,
Yeah, go
Alex
ahead.
Caceres versus Kevin Croom. We were talking about that one in the episode 2 podcast. Alex Caceres ended up winning like I predicted, 97 strikes compared to Kevin Croom's 26. They both landed a takedown each, but at the end of the day, it was Alex Caceres by decision in the third round.
Yeah, I mean, I found it interesting how Dana was kind of pissed off with Gaines' performance, and kind of talking about how they invested a lot in him, and they kind of expected a little bit more out of him, that night, and kind of expected a firecracker. But you know what? You win some, you lose some. It's the business. Not all events, not all fights are gonna be blow them out of the water. Pay-per-views, but
Yeah.
for the event, I mean, it was pretty solid. It was good to just kind of have UFC this weekend. But, I mean, we have something pretty exciting coming up this Saturday. UFC 259, Blackwoods versus Adesanya. My God, what a stacked card this is. From the prelims all the way up to the main card. I mean, this is just insane. This is insane. So I'm going to run through the early prelims here, because you
Yep.
even have some fights to talk about here.
Yeah. It's a couple of them.
So the opening bout on the early prelims, you got Mario Bautista versus Trevin Jones, which is a bantamweight bout, and then you move up. You got a lightweight bout between Euros Medic and Elon Cruz, and then you have a women's strawweight bout between Lavina Souza and Amanda Lemos. Then you got a welterweight bout between Sean Brady versus Jake Matthews. That should be a banger. Then you got another light heavyweight bout with Kennedy Nzechukwu versus Carl Zulberg. Not really familiar with either of those fighters. And then you got Tim Elliott flyweight bout versus Jordan Espinoza. That should be a firecracker fight as well. I can't wait to watch that one.
Yeah, of course.
Moving
Um,
over to, is there anything you wanted to touch on there,
yeah, yeah.
Jovan?
I wanted to touch on Earl Medic versus Alan Cruz. I watched Earl Medic on Dana White's Tuesday Fight Contender Series, and I don't remember who he fought, but he knocked him out in the first round. It was quite a performance, I gotta say. And personally, I think if Uros can win this fight and get over on a couple new guys, he could become something in the UFC, and I'm looking forward to watching him.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, the prelims will be good for the up and coming fighters coming into the UFC. Kind of see what they're made out of. Good
Yeah, of
opportunity to
course.
showcase who they are.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on to the prelims. So To start off, opening the prelims, we got Rogero Bontorin versus Kai Kara France, which is a flyweight belt. Then we got Joseph Benavidez making his return versus Askar Askarov. The last time we saw Jay Benavidez, he lost to Figueiredo, right? I believe that was his last fight.
Yeah.
Damn, that was a bad loss. Back-to-back losses. I'm excited to see him come back. I want to see how he will do against, a top contender, up-and-comer in Askar Askarov. It should be a good fight. Honestly, I feel like Benavidez has kind of got the shit end of the stick lately. He's been paired with some really tough guys, really hard matchups. Figueiredo twice, and to get stopped by him 2 different ways, finished by him one time and then another time earlier in the fight, in the second fight. It's not fun. So it's interesting to see how he'll come back, and I want to see him. I want to see him fight. I'm excited for that one. What do you think, Jova?
Yeah, of course. I mean, both on the losing end of brutal finishes by Davis and Figueiredo, but just to see the caliber of this fighter, who in his last fight was fighting for a title, now to be like pretty much opening up on the prelims, just shows you the amount of good fights there are on this card. It's a stacked card, I gotta say. Even going up along the prelims, we got Song Yadong versus Kyler Phillips and Dominic Cruz versus Casey Kenny. Good fighters on this card. So, and that's just the prelims. But I hope Joseph Benavidez can stop the skid and get a win over on Askar. But I guess we're going to have to wait till Saturday night to see.
I agree with you, Jova. Moving forward, we got Song Yadong, like you said, versus Kyler Phillips, which is a bantamweight bout. And then we got your boy Dominic Cruz versus Casey Kenny, making his return after kind of a hard pill to swallow against Cejudo, I gotta say.
Yeah.
But, Jova, I need to get your thoughts on this fight because I know how much of a Dominic Cruz fan you are. I want to know your take on this fight.
Dominic Cruz is he is the greatest bantamweight of all time. Even if he lost to Henry Cejudo, okay, that's one bad fight. His first time in 7 years fighting in the prelims. First time in 7 years. I think his last fight on the prelims was his knockout win over Takanori Gomi, but I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, so I'm a big Dominic Cruz fan. 110 underdog, which is unbelievable if you ask me, because I'm not a big fan of Casey Kenny, and I don't think he gets it over on Dominic Cruz, because Dominic Cruz, you guys must have forgot, is one of the best bantamweights of all time. One of the best fighters of all time, if you ask me. Undefeated for like 10 years, I think. He came back after injury, back-to-back injuries, and beat TJ Dillashaw for the belt. So that says a lot about him. I hope to see a good performance from him in UFC 259, and he can get back on track, maybe give it another shot for the title.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely opportunity for Cruz to come back and potentially get another title shot. But I really do think that this fight is a make it or break it fight for him. Considering how he lost to Cejudo, moving forward, he said it himself in an interview with Earl that every guy in the top 10, top 15 in bantamweight has the title challenger capability. Like, they're all championship level material. These guys are nothing to play with. I mean, we saw what Sandhagen did to Edgar. We know Edgar's accomplishments in featherweight and lightweight. We've seen Aljamain Sterling, Peter Yan, Jose Aldo move down, Marlon Moraes, all these guys, Sean O'Malley. The bantamweight division is something very, very, very exciting to watch right now. And I really, truly do think that the prelims and the early prelims are definitely a showcase for the bantamweight division. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in the main card because obviously that's the one that's stacked beyond belief. I just pulled up Dominic Cruz's stats here against Casey Kenny. I'm gonna start making our picks now, Jova, so we can make our picks from Cruz all the way up to the main event. So this fight, I am gonna pick Cruz. I do think Cruz is the more experienced vet. I just think he's been in there longer. I think that Cruz knows how to defend takedowns really well. I think he has a striking advantage against Casey Kenny. I think Casey Kenny is going to be really, really surprised. And Dominic Cruz is great footwork, great head movement. He's one of the best in the game. I think he takes this, and I really want to see Cruz come back and shine here. So I am going to take Cruz here. What about you, Jova?
Obviously, I'm gonna go with Cruz. That's not even a question.
Yeah.
Cruz has a lot of things fighters don't. It's something unique about him. Everyone knows him for his footwork. It's something so unique. You've never seen it in this sport before, ever. And that's what makes him one of my favorite. Not to mention his other fighting capabilities, his wrestling, his grappling, his striking, all of that. However, one thing I didn't really like to see from him recently was after his loss to Henry Cejudo. I don't like the way he handled it, comparing it to his loss to Cody Garbrandt back in, I think it was 2016, 2017. He took the Cody Garbrandt L like a champ, but he kind of lost that touch when he lost to Henry Cejudo, and he was just blaming it on the ref, and he was putting the excuses on everyone else but himself. So I hope he can get a win and make up for that. Other than that, I got Dominic Cruz. I'll always be a fan of him no matter what happens, and hope to see a good performance by him on Saturday.
Good take. Moving on to the main card. So, opening up for us, we got a firecracker of a fight in the light heavyweight division between Tiago Santos and Alexander Rakic. Rakic? Yeah, I want to say Rakic. So this fight, I mean, not much to really analyze here. This is going to be really back and forth. Hopefully, kickboxing fight, mostly stand up. Probably see a little bit of Rakic's grappling, but no, this should be a good fight. I think the last we saw Tiago Santos was against Glover Teixeira, and he lost to a rear naked choke.
Yeah.
And Alexander Rakic, I just want to look up him on SureDog. See where he's been lately. Yeah, okay, so Alexander Rakic, he is 13-2, only 2 losses, 1 submission, 1 decision. The last we saw him in was him versus Anthony Smith, and he won that fight by decision. The last fight he lost was to Volkan Ozdemir, which was by a split decision, which I remember that fight, and I think that was his... I remember watching that fight, and that was his 4th fight in the UFC? 4th or 5th fight in the UFC?
Somewhere around there.
Yeah. And I remember I watched that fight live, and I thought he won that fight. I thought he took that. But he's been on a roll, man. I mean, he knocked out Jimmy Manua. He's knocked out Devin Clark. Has decision win over Justin Ledet. I mean, he's a young up-and-comer. But he's got a freaking train to walk through in Tiago Santos. He's got someone to walk through there. But I do think he's looked impressive his last 2 fights. So I am going to take Alexander Rakic for this fight versus Tiago Santos. What about you, Jova?
I'm gonna have to go with Rakic as well, just because I mean you pretty much said what had to be said. He's younger. He's pretty much reaching his prime, and I think he gets over on Tiago Santos.
Yeah, for sure. Well, hopefully we're right.
Yeah.
Hopefully our picks are right.
Of course.
Don't use our picks to bet. Just wait until after 259, and then we'll let you know if you can use our picks to bet how liable we are.
Got it. Yeah.
Okay, so this next fight in the lightweight division, Islam Makhachev versus Drew Dober. I'm looking at the odds here on the UFC website, and Drew Dober is a plus 250 underdog, which I do not understand. The casuals must have this one wrong, because I do not think that they have watched Drew Dober's last fight. He looked like an absolute monster. Okay?
Yeah.
I forget what card he fought on, but I remember it was recently. I have to pull it up here. I need to find it because I need to prove my point. Yeah. Drew Dober versus Alexander Hernandez. Okay, so this fight was May 13th, 2020. It was on the Smith versus Glover Teixeira card. And my God, did he look great that fight. He just took him out second round. I think it was like towards the end of the round. What a great fight. He also knocked out Nasrat Hakprast on the McGregor versus Cerrone card. I watched that fight too. That was crazy. That was actually the first fight that I watched of Drew Dober. And my God, is he something to watch. He's only been stopped. He's only been stopped once by knockout, 3 times by submission, and 5 decisions. So his record isn't something amazing and not something that's going to blow you out of the water. But if you just look at his last 3 performances coming off of 3 straight knockouts, I mean, to put him as a 250 plus 250 underdog to me is insane. Especially when you look at who Makhachev has faced lately. Not to say he hasn't faced top-ranked guys, but they're very evenly matched. I think that this is more of a split down the middle fight. I don't think that he should be considered this much of an underdog because he could come in and pull an upset over Islam Makhachev. I mean, I know that there's a lot of talk with Islam kind of taking the torch from Khabib because he trains with him and kind of moving forward with that, Dagestani, Russian fighting style, wrestling style. But I don't know. This is a close fight. This is a really, really close fight. I feel that it's really too close to call. If I had to pick somebody, just because I love an underdog story, I'm going to have to go with Drew Dober because everybody's counting him out. I think he can make a spectacular run at 155. He's already on a win streak. If he gets this fight, if he wins over Islam Makhachev, it definitely puts him top 10, maybe even top 5. Or he fights somebody top 5 afterwards.
Yeah.
I feel like this will get him a top 5 fight and move him more towards the title picture. And same for Islam Makhachev. I think they're both in kind of the same spot where a win for either of these guys in this fight will propel them towards title contention. What about you, Jova? What do you think about this one?
As you were saying about the fighting the top 5, I think a win for Makhachev would do more for him than a win for Drew Dober because he's only 18-1 compared to Drew Dober's 23-9. But I could see why people would put Drew Dober as an underdog just compared to the record. If you look at it at first glance, you say, okay, Islam's going to beat this guy. Islam's a great fighter. Islam's this, Islam's that. But if you look at it closely, Islam's more of a grappler. So compared to Drew Dober, who's more of a striker. So people see this and they're like, okay, so he's going to grapple him. He's going to ground and pound him, give him a few strikes here and there. And he'll probably grind out a TKO or decision. But at the end of the day, everyone loves an underdog story, and I'm hoping Drew Dober wins this one just because I'd like to see him fight somebody. Even in the top 10 is fine with me. I don't think he'll fight someone right in the top 5, maybe top 7. But I think top 5 is a bit of a stretch.
I would like to see him fight. I don't know what these guys are ranked, but I would like to see him fight Dariush if he wins this fight. I'd like to see him and Dariush go at it. Dober and Dariush. I think that would be a cracker of a fight. Okay, so moving forward. Now we move into the 3 championship fights. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to let you take this one first, and
please.
I'll build off of it.
All right.
So talk about this next fight, Jan versus Sterling. Take it away, Joel.
All right. Peter Yan versus Aljamain Sterling. So going into this fight, Peter Yan's got a record of 15-1 compared to Aljamain Sterling, who's got a record of 19-3. Same height, same weight, couple inches in reach for Aljamain Sterling compared to Peter Yan. But if you ask me who I'm picking Aljamain Sterling all day. I'm picking Aljamain Sterling because Peter Yan, I don't like the guy personally. I don't like the way he fights. And if you ask me, he's fought a bunch of washed up guys that have no business fighting for title contention. Jose Aldo, don't get me wrong, he's a good fighter. He's one of the best. But he's old now, and you could see that in the Peter Yan fight. He didn't want to be there, and it was a late stoppage. He was just getting beat up, and that's who they put to fight Peter Yan for the belt. Makes no sense to me. And before that, he knocked out Uriah Faber, another washed-up old man. And then before that, he fought Jimmy Rivera, another washed-up old man who has no business fighting anymore. And compared to you look at Aljamain, his last fight was the number 2 contender, Corey Sandhagen, and he dispatched of him within like a minute, I think it was, and choked him out cold. One of the nastiest chokes I think I've ever seen in the past like year or so. So I'm hoping Aljamain wins this one and we can see An New, because I think he'd be a pretty interesting champ, and there's a lot of fights for him set up. His rematch with Corey Sandhagen being one of them. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, this fight, it's going to be a banger for sure, 100%. I see your narrative there with Piotr Jan not really having faced, top level opponents to kind of win the championship. Like, I mean, if you look at who he's fought and you look at who Aljamain Sterling's fought, you could easily kind of just transfer the title over to Sterling. I mean, the only thing that Jan has over Sterling is a longer winning streak. But on paper, Sterling is also the more experienced fighter. I mean, he's got 22 professional fights under his belt as opposed to 16. And I mean, to win the title, Jan only beat Jose Aldo, who was coming off a split decision loss to Marlon Moraes to even earn that title shot. So how could... I mean, this fight is a lot for Jan to prove, okay? Because if he can get through Sterling, feed Jan Dillashaw, because we haven't really seen Jan tested against somebody like Sterling. The only time we've seen Peter Yan lose was to Magomed Magomedov. And that was in ACB Battle of the Lions. That was a split decision loss. So I did remember watching clips on that fight. I believe he got dominated in the grappling a few times in the fight, which is what kind of led to the discrepancy in the split decision. So he's had trouble with grapplers before. And I'd like to see how Sterling manages to take him down and just, choke him out, because if Sterling wins, that's how it's done. Sterling gets him out of there by choking him, by an armbar, leg lock. Because I think if Sterling gets a hold of Jan, I think it's game over for Jan. I don't think that his jiu-jitsu defense is there. I don't know if his grappling defense is there. I don't know, right? We'll see how it is. If you look at Aljamain Sterling's last few fights, Munoz and of course our boy, putting him to sleep like you said. There's a lot of hype around this guy. I love Aljamain Sterling. I would love to have him on the podcast one day because I kind of love his image and what he's about. So I'm rooting for Sterling. I do think Sterling's title fight of the card. Forward now.
Moving forward. What is there to talk about here?
We got the GOAT, Amanda Nunes.
The GOAT.
Versus Megan Anderson. If I'm not mistaken, this is for the 145-pound championship. So not the 135-pound. From what I know, the featherweight division, the 145-pound division in the UFC is very shallow. There is not many fighters. I know Holly Holm competed up there. Obviously Nunes... when Cyborg was in the UFC, they actually made that division for her. Now, they kind of have people filling it. And we have Megan Anderson coming to prove herself. Coming with a lot to... she's got a lot to put up with against Amanda Nunes. But Amanda Nunes, she's a GOAT for a reason, right? I mean, not a lot to say here other than... but if she does beat Amanda... I think it will be one of the greatest one of the greatest upsets in MMA history, female MMA history. I think as big, if not bigger than when Holly Holm knocked out Ronda Rousey. So she's never been knocked out. She's only been submitted and lost to in there and get her hands dirty. Her last fight, she knocked out Norma Dumont in the first round. And the fight before that, she got a sick triangle choke. So, you know what? I think it's fair game. We've seen Nunes have trouble with those lengthier fighters like Jermaine Durandamy. I remember Jermaine Durandamy gave her a lot of problems in their fight. So it'd be interesting to see how Megan Anderson approaches this, what her game plan is. Is it doable? Yes. Do I think that she's going to beat Amanda Nunes? No. I think Amanda Nunes is going to come through. I think we're going to see the GOAT still shine bright. We're going to see the GOAT still stand on top. And as far as the featherweight division for the females fighting, I don't know where it goes from there. You have Nunes kind of defending both belts and not really, having much competition up there. They might just scrap it all together, but we'll see. We'll see. We have to see where this fight goes. What do you think of this fight, Jova?
Yeah, like you said, Nunes basically controls the 135, 145 division. She's the GOAT for a reason. And I think, honestly, there's no one at the moment that can beat Nunes. And that's a bold statement, but it speaks to her because she's fought almost everybody now, and they keep feeding her fighters, and nobody has answers for her. And it's kind of amazing all the fights she's put out there. You would think that at least one camp would find a problem and a way to beat it and way to take the title from her and tarnish her legacy, right? But at this point, she just keeps winning and winning and winning. That it's got to the point where instead of betting money on her, you should just bet like $1 on the person she's fighting in case they do win, and you make a lot of money off that. But at the end of the day, I think it's Ann still for the GOAT, second title fight of the night, and there's not much more to say about it.
Yep. So, moving on. Our main event, we got the last style bender, Israel Adesanya versus Jan Blackwoods for the light heavyweight championship of the world. Great fight. I am a huge Adesanya fan. I love Izzy. One of my favorite fighters in the UFC by far. I've been following him since he came to the UFC, so to see him kind of rise and have similar star power to Conor McGregor is really something special to watch. And the fact that he's just kind of remained active and come so far in such little time in the UFC is amazing to me. This fight, it's close to call. We haven't seen Izzy lose yet in MMA. Jan has a pretty veteran record, 27-8. He's been knocked out. He's been submitted. He's lost a few decisions, but he's a veteran nonetheless, and he's on an impressive he's won the last 4 out of his last 5, and he's on a 4-fight win streak. Tiago Santos was the last person to beat him. He knocked him out. I think they need to run that one back, Tiago Santos versus Jan Blackwoods. But we'll see after this fight. He knocked out Luke Rockhold. He got a decision over Jacare Souza. He knocked out Corey Anderson, and he destroyed Dominic Reyes.
Yeah.
This is going to be a crazy fight. His last 4 fights have been upsets. I really do believe that he was the underdog in all of those fights, and he came back and he knocked almost all of them out, and that is insane. To count out Jan Blachowicz right now would be stupid for us. He's proven us wrong so many times when we counted him out before, and I really do think that he is a threat to Israel. I don't think that Israel's going to run over him. I do think it's going to be a long, dragged-out fight. I am going to take Izzy by 4th round knockout. I think Izzy gets this done in the 4th round. What about you, Jova?
Of course, there's going to be Jan Blachowicz after he destroyed Dominic Reyes. First of all, let me talk about that. He destroyed Dominic Reyes. I was going in there thinking, oh my God, what is this fight? Dominic Reyes just went 5 rounds with John Jones. I think he won that fight, arguably. And Jan gets in there, and he destroys him. Breaks his nose, bruises his ribs. And that's it. And new for Jan Blachowicz. And Someone told me the other day, as soon as John Jones leaves the division, Israel Adesanya moves up to fight for the championship. And I do think that Jan Blachowicz can give him some problems because obviously it's the weight difference. There's the new size. You got to adjust to that in the fight, right? You're never really going to know until you're in there. But I think Israel Adesanya's faced enough adversity to prove that he's one of the elite fighters. You said he's got the stardom of like people like Conor McGregor, what's his name, Anderson Silva. You could see him taking the torch from him in their fight. Today, Israel Adesanya is one of the best. He's one of my favorite. Like you said, he's one of yours. And it'll come down to skill at the end of the day. And I think Israel Adesanya gets it done in the third round by knockout.
Good pick, Jova. I mean, yeah, both rooting for Stylebender here. I hope he comes out of here as a double champ and then moves up to heavyweight, fight John Jones. But we'll see. That's kind of a stretch, but we'll just kind of have to see where it goes, right? We have to see where the fight goes. Got to see how this card plays out. Definitely something to watch this weekend. Super excited about it. Yeah.
Yeah, what I'm hearing is if Israel wins, he wants to fight Darren Till. That's what I'm hearing because he said no one in middleweight excites him anymore except for Darren Till. But he says Darren Till needs to win a couple more fights and then he'll see about it. But I think him and Robert Whittaker need to run it back as well.
Talk about like the next fight after the fight that they already have scheduled, because I think time and time again we've seen that when that happens, buy into their own hype and then they just get hit shots and get put out. I mean, we've seen Israel get knocked out before by Alex Pereira in I think it was Muay Thai or kickboxing, their fight. But yeah, I don't want to see that in MMA. I don't want to see Israel lose. I want to see him win. I want to see great things for him. And I'm excited for this weekend. I'm excited for the card. Excited for everybody's fights. I think we have a great card coming up this week. Moving on to things that are happening in MMA today. So, I mean, I guess the biggest thing right now, one of the only things is Chimaev kind of announcing retirement, and then Dana jumping in there and saying that he was just emotional and to not. But I do know, and what I can relate to the people is that Chimaev was got COVID really, really bad, and I remember like hearing his team reach out to the UFC for like medical help and stuff. So the UFC ended up flying him out there last week to get like medical treatment, right? So we just gotta see where it goes. But he posted some text on his story, and then it was like a picture of like blood in the sink, and poor guy is fucking spitting up blood, and like, COVID just hit him really bad, and he's trying to train while he has COVID or trying to recover from COVID, and it's just bad for him. It's not good. He's got to just kind of recover and come back stronger. But it's kind of sad and scary to see him go through something like that and post something like that, especially when you know that his nature and the way he was brought up is very tough. So to know that he's going through that kind of suffering is really unsettling, I'm wishing him the best. I don't want to see Chimaev retire. It would be such a shame. It would be the biggest Cinderella what-if story in MMA history. It would just be a shame. So prayers up for Chimaev. Pray for Chimaev. Praying hands. Joba, what's your take on that?
I mean, of course, you got to think. The guy almost died to COVID, right? That's serious. Anyone almost losing their life, that's serious. But to almost throw away a dream like that, you can't do something like that, right? And obviously, he was intoxicated at the time he made the post saying he was going to retire. And you can only imagine what he was thinking when he sent that out. And once he came to his senses, he realized, no, I still have a legacy to fulfill. I still have so much potential left in me, and I have so much greatness I can prove to myself and others. And he spoke to Dana. Dana came out saying that's not happening. And all I could hope is I could wish him good health. Good wealth and good health. But I hope he's fine. I hope he can come back and fight soon because you could tell the MMA fan base is really starting to miss him, right? After I think it was like 14-second knockout he landed. And before that, just other like a first round finishes after first round finish. He's an amazing fighter, and we hope to see him back soon.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, just prayers up for Chimaev, you know? Don't want to see him go out like that. Moving forward. What else is there? Is that pretty much it? Pretty much it, Jova?
I'm not sure. I haven't been hearing anything else.
Oh, one more thing, actually. One more thing. Costa
Shoot.
coming out and saying that he was hammered at the time.
We're gonna talk about that.
Yes, we will. We will talk about this.
You got it. You got it.
So, Paulo Costa coming out and saying that he was drunk before his fight with Israel. Are you on crack, my friend? Why would you be drunk? Why would you do that? Why would you drink before you have the biggest title fight of your life, the biggest fight of your life, and you're gonna drink? Why? To go to sleep? I don't know who's managing Paulo Costa. I don't know who's controlling what he says and what he put out there in his responses to these fights. But my God, somebody's got to put his phone away. Lock it, you know.
Ground him.
Ground him. Take his electronics away. Stop giving this man an outlet.
Cut his Wi-Fi. That's it.
Yeah, for real. Because you know what? He's just making himself look bad. He's really just got to kind of accept this loss with Izzy. And because you know what? If he doesn't accept the loss, he will always just be remembered as a guy, the one and only guy to get double tapped in the octagon. Okay, that was some Call of Duty gulag stuff. Like Israel Adesanya to do that after the fight. He's savage, complete savage. Like he's got to get over it. Costa's got to move forward. Yo, go starch Whitaker. If you can starch Whitaker and go get a few impressive wins under your belt, then you could probably have that fight with Izzy back. Do something impressive. Get him to come back. You know, I think talking about it the way he is just he's wasting his time. He's making himself look poor.
So there's a way you go about it. So you can go about it like a man and better, or you could be an absolute dunce about it like Paulo Costa and tweet about it on Twitter talking about, I was drunk, I drank. Nobody cares. It would be way better off if he said nothing, because a loss is a loss, especially against someone like Israel Adesanya, an elite fighter, 20-0 in the UFC, and he's a striker. Like, nobody's going to blame you for that loss. All you can really do is go and get better, right? But now that you